from the right and the left, but surmise here for people who don't know, because a lot of people get their information from Facebook and Twitter, and the story was throttled. We tested it, by the way. This is the first time I think I was ever retweeted by the president. We tested the New York Post article about your Hunter Biden emails, and it told us that it could not be posted. We have the screenshot available on my Twitter because it violated their policies, and then it was sort of disseminated, and Jack Dorsey apologized. He'll have to speak before a hearing. So for people who haven't heard yet, this is a bombshell in New York Post. What is it, if you have to give them the bullet points? Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, what's the implication here?
Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are involved in a bribery scheme in Ukraine. And Hunter Biden and Joe have for years said that Joe knew nothing about Burisma, the company that paid the bribe. He knew nothing about his dealings in Ukraine. And what there is a cold, clear group of text messages in which Hunter Biden sets up a meeting for the number 2 person in that company with Joe Biden.
Right.
Who then texts Hunter back and thanks him. So it makes Joe a complete liar for the last 7 years. It shows that he met with Burisma. I think it's not on his public schedule, but we have another one where Hunter Biden was snuck into the back of the State Department, so he's meeting with the Deputy Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, isn't reported, because if he had the meeting, it would have violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So there are plenty of very, very damning things with regard to Ukraine on the hard drive. The main one being that Joe Biden's been lying for 7 years about it and knew all about Burisma, as you knew was true.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I didn't know anything about my son's foreign dealings. How credible is that?
Right.
The guy is suffering from really massive drug addiction, which the hard drive will make clear. It's hard to get through a line of photographs without seeing one of him with a crack pipe sitting in a closet.
Well, he was a fan of Weezer.
Sitting in the closet going bonkers. He's like a zombie.
Have you seen the pictures?
Who's going to report this guy?
Have you seen the pictures of him with the crack pipe?
You're darn right I have.
Oh, wow. Does he at least look like cool?
Unfortunately, I can't show them to you right now, but this is the hard drive they're on right there.
Gosh. Oh, my word. Let me ask you this, Mayor Giuliani. How did you get that hard drive? Because this is the crux of the New York Post article being throttled right on social media. They said that you've been working with a Russian agent, or that it's entirely false.
Actually, I got it directly from Putin.
You are not going to believe who likes hash pipe.
Putin sent it to me, and he said, I don't even know. He just wanted a couple of bottles of vodka in return. Right. Which wasn't bad. I mean, it cost me about $150. I sent it to Putin.
Right.
And
if you send him something better than Grey Goose, he'll show you the heroin pictures.
Hunter Biden there with crack pipes. It's got him there doing an imitation of Anthony Weiner about 50 times. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
It's got some very disturbing things on it that I shouldn't joke about. And here's how I got it. Hunter Biden brought his hard drive into a repairman to repair it. The repairman took it. Hunter Biden signed a receipt for it, which I have here, and said he was going to come back for it. 2 days later, he came back and gave him a part. And then when it was done, he never came back. According to the agreement, after 90 days, the hard drive is abandoned under the law, and it belongs to the merchant. The merchant held it for another 3-4 months, and then he heard all this talk on television, and he started to get worried. What do I have here? This could be criminal evidence.
Right.
So he opened it, and he almost fainted. He said, "I never saw anything like this before." And if you looked at the photographs, you'd probably come to that conclusion also. But then he took a look at the text, and he saw in the text major contradictions to what the Bidens were saying on television, like the one I just told you.
Right.
Biden was saying, I didn't know anything about Burisma in Ukraine, and there's plenty of evidence that he did.
Can I ask you a question, Mayor Giuliani? Because, you mentioned Anthony Weiner, and, I sort of came up under Andrew Breitbart. Before it was Breitbart, it was Big Hollywood, and I was there for the Weiner scandal and Acorn and all of that. Here's my question to you, because obviously you know that the left is going to come out and say, well, this can't be corroborated. That's the basis on which Facebook and Twitter have throttled this story, despite the fact that they were covering stories that were verifiably false regarding Trump calling the troops suckers and losers. But how do you go about then behind the scenes making sure that New York Post, or have you offered any evidence to anyone other than New York Post to corroborate? Because obviously New York Post believes that this is real. They've confirmed it. But is there any way for you to get the media to confirm it behind the scenes so that we don't run afoul of social media, or do they not care?
If they think it's not correct, sue Rupert Murdoch. You don't, I mean, he had it for 5 days, and they did everything they could to verify it. They're convinced that it's real. Not only that, I internally verified it. There are things on that hard drive that only Hunter Biden would know, because those things were given to us by anonymous informants. Dates, for example, that aren't public. Dates of meetings that were never recorded in the State Department or the White House in order to hide them. And the hard drive comes up with exactly those same dates. That could only have been known to Hunter Biden. His pictures all over it make it pretty clear that it's him. His signature is on the receipt for it. The gentleman can identify him as Hunter Biden. And if you read the internal messages, they're quite consistent with what we already know. It describes a transaction. Describes a transaction in China that I think we all know. It's in Schweiker's book, almost exactly the same as Schweiker does it, except it explains that when the money was transferred. The Ukraine thing is exactly what the 5 witnesses told me, all of whom want to come to the United States and testify under oath and are being blocked from coming to the United States. And I mean, this is really ridiculous.
This is mammoth, obviously. Like this makes Watergate look like a what do we say? Dwarf piss droplets at this point. It's so huge that it almost seems. Almost, for lack of a better word, it almost sounds unbelievable to Americans, because they're like, well, this is so huge, and that's why Twitter and Facebook have decided to throttle it, which hopefully at this point we understand that this is now a First Amendment issue and not a free speech version of the First Amendment issue, but we're talking about actually the freedom of the press if New York Post is not being allowed to get their material up there. One thing I wanted to make sure, you may not know how to explain this because it's more of a tech issue, your story, obviously, or the New York Post story that you've obviously provided information on, was not available when we were searching at social media. All across platforms. What was a story that claimed you or someone who worked with you had photoshopped these files or had fabricated them. So that wasn't considered fake news. That was at the top, and that's not even the claim they're making. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have my tech guy Bryce here.
I'm willing to invite. I just invited someone on Fox if they want to come here and look at it. They can't take it away, but you can come and look at it. Figure out for yourself that it's
I actually have my tech guy Bryce here who explained to me why those articles were false right off the bat. If I may, and you were saying that there's something.
Yeah, so it's not super definitive,
right?
But it's just an explanation.
Yeah.
Gibbon, you want to pull up the raster versus vector thing?
Okay, so we'll explain it really quickly because we have the American.
So their argument was that the little logo was pixelized and all kind of low resolution compared to the text. But that's kind of what would happen if you exported an email.
Okay, yeah.
So a vector, so the little icon is usually like an Apple or a Google type image.
Right.
And that's probably referencing either a vector or higher resolution images on the server.
Okay, it sounded like Mayor Giuliani.
That's exactly what happened. This was an older. The original hard drive was older, and he had to put it on newer hard drives. I mean, he can explain it in detail. And come on, let's face it, they're not challenging the accuracy of it.
Well, they're not anymore. Yeah.
Biden's lawyers. In fact, I'll give you something that really verifies it. The very morning this came out, within about 20 minutes, Hunter Biden's lawyer called the merchant and asked him if he could have the hard drive back.
Really? Yeah. Well, that's that also reminds me I need to call Geek Squad.
We have the email evidence of that.
Wow, that is.
If the lawyer is asking for the hard drive back,
yeah. Well, so it obviously verifies that it's the hard. Hey, you can leave, Bryce. Yeah, I'm talking with America's mayor. I apologize for that. He overstays his welcome. That is now. Is there any record of that? In other words, like the lawyer reaching out to this man? I would imagine.
Yeah. He actually did it by telephone and by email. We have the email.
Good. That's almost as though it makes it worse on them, Mr. Giuliani.
Oh yeah, it's the dumbest thing a lawyer can do, but who says this part?
Would you advise your
Joe
clients?
Biden was the dumbest kid in law school.
Well, I was gonna say, would you advise your clients if someone came to you and said,
to him,
"This is actually
I was
my hard
introduced
drive"?
to him by his law school classmate. He's the dumbest kid in our law school class, but he's a nice guy. He cheated his way through.
Oh
Remember,
my
he
God!
plagiarized in law school.
All right, well, Mr. Mayor Giuliani, we're gonna have to get going here pretty soon.